thank you. Thank you all for coming. I'm thrilled and honored to be here. My parents are from Norway. My father was a fisherman. My grandfather was a fisherman. My other grandfather was a boat builder. The first boat that I ever really made was for my best friend, Sylvan. Sylvan did a drawing of a boat, and when he gave it to me, he said, when I die, I want you to make a boat for my ashes, and I want to be taken out to sea and buried. Well, Sylvan was at Baby Boucher, which is an AIDS hospice, and he died about a week later. So I made a boat for his ashes, as close to the drawing as I could. Took it out to sea and sunk it. My mom had come to Sylvan's memorial and was so moved by the boat that I had made for Sylvan that she wanted me to make a boat for my father when he died. My father died 2 years in the same month, June, as Sylvan did. My father had a spinal condition and would have eventually been paralyzed, so he shot himself. So he obviously had to be cremated. So we made a boat for him. We took it out to sea and we sunk it. My father, his condition with being paralyzed, we didn't know that. The doctor told us that after his death. We weren't really sure. The only note that he left for us was pinned to his chest, and it was just a list of his bank accounts. And it was covered with blood, and so I wasn't really able to show it to my mom or my brother. 2 years and two, I'm sorry you guys, 2 years and 2 days afterwards, my mom died. And before she died, she wanted me to make a boat for her ashes, and she wanted to be buried at sea, obviously, with my father, sort of like a contemporary Viking funeral. My mother just sort of fell apart, first emotionally, and then physically after the death of my father. I believe the suicide was just too painful for her to bear. During this period, my partner of 24 years was sort of always a very heavy drinker. And what I say now in retrospect is that kind of when the nightmare came to our family, his escape was alcohol. And unfortunately, that was probably not a very good choice. He died 2 years after my mother, again the same month, it was June. And the day before he died, he asked me to make a boat for him, and he wanted to be buried, with my mom and dad in the same place in the same manner. So for me, the boat is meant to be the symbolic voyage or journey to the other side. This boat is meant to be floating off to another space. If that makes any sense. Richard Garrett from Microsoft was at a party in my studio, and I basically told him the story pretty much like I just told you. He looked at me and he goes, "I'm taking those to space." I didn't know who he was, so I was like, really good idea. Have another cocktail and get back to him. But anyway, he did. He took, this is actually the actual painting that went into space. Or he took two of them, this one and one similar to this one. They were watercolor on paper. So he rolled them up, put them into a specially made tube, took them up into space, let them float around a while, brought them back down and sold them, or Sotheby's in New York did, and the money went to aerospace programs for kids. Yeah, there was 10 artists, 12 pieces of art. I was the only North American artist because he wanted it to be a global experience. It was very, very cool. Last year, I was very fortunate in the fact that I had 4 museum shows: the Seattle Art Museum, the Bainbridge Island Art Museum, the museum up here in McConnor, just down the street, that was last June, and the Foss Maritime Museum. And then PBS, or Channel 9, has just done a segment on me. It was 9 minutes long, and it was shown in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And basically just what I just told you. I'm sort of using my heritage in order to, make something beautiful. And I'm taking something that was like really horrible in my life and trying and attempting to turn it into something beautiful.
You
I
did
don't know
it.
what else to say. Yes?
So what were you doing before you started
wood. Carving wood, and I was actually making contemporary totem type of like imagery. Sort of very similar to like these guys. Even though this one is scrap plywood, laminated together, put on end, and then carved. Right now, the starfish in our area are dying. You probably all have heard about that. You know, they're disappearing. Starfish are like one of my favorite images. I just think they're just so beautiful. And so this one is meant to be a tribute to the starfish, and so is the one behind it. That one's called Navigating by the Stars. And that one's done, the one behind us is done on recycled chlorine. The moon, I put the moon in the pieces just because I want to make the pieces more ethereal, more like otherworldly. And I don't know, there's something mystical and magical about being out on the water, especially when it's nighttime. Yes?
I noticed those are on slabs of wood. Are those also reclaimed wood?
In some cases where I can, I'll use reclaimed pieces.
Like these here?
Yeah, as much as humanly possible, I use reclaimed wood. The piece right over here in the corner is, I think, a particularly lovely piece. It's done on salvaged, it's a salvaged boat part, and then it's done on marine bronze. So that one's got a patina as well as the oil paint. But in general, I generally speaking try to use recycled materials. Again, it's like making something beautiful out of something found. I make a lot of things out of steel that I found on the beach. One of my best, it was John Williams' best friend, who was my partner who died. His beach is on Rockaway Beach, which is on Bainbridge Island, and it looks straight out to downtown Seattle. And it's like one of the most expensive areas in our state. Anyway, I think down from his beach, I think there's like a cliff, and I think it used to be used as a dumping ground. But I have found, oh my God, frying pans, irons, car parts. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to clean up this one area of the beach and make something beautiful of it. Again, very much like the whole series. You know, taking something that was horrible and turning it into something beautiful. Yes?
How did you make the beautiful three-dimensional piece by the front door there?
By the front door?
This little one hanging right here?
The hanging piece? Okay, that's a three-dimensional object that was carved in wood. And then it's very similar to sort of this one in the corner that I think everybody can see. So that one is carved in wood, but this one's done in Italian plaster. So this is actually as thick as this one. And so what I've done is I've poured boat resin. And then in between the layers of the boat resin, I'm painting to try to achieve a fog, kind of a fog type of effect. Again, there's something very mystical about being out on the ocean, you know, and seeing the fog. It's very spiritual, it's very ghost-like, it's just very haunting. And so I've been trying to make fog paintings for about 10 years, and this is like one of the first ones that I think I've actually accomplished.
That's one of your smaller pieces, but I think it
might
be my favorite.
One. Yeah, that was a series, a whole series, and I think the gallery has a couple more of them here as well. Yeah. Questions? Yes?
This is really off topic, but so many Canadian fishermen can't swim. Is that also true in Norway?
No. No, my whole family can swim. Yeah, my real name is Sven Jensen, but by the time I got to Ballard High School, guess what? It was Steve. You got teased with a name like Sven. Guess what? It made me tough. But actually, my great uncle Fritz was his ship went down, and he lost I think 7 out of 10 of his fingers from frostbite and all of his toes. And I remember as a small child him working harder than anybody else because he wanted to compensate for it, but he worked on my grandfather's boat. Yeah, and on my grandfather's boat, well, my parents were from Norway, and I mean, they would have never thought anything of sending a 7-year-old out to the Bering Sea. You know, I mean, today they would think of that as child abuse, but back then it was like, oh yeah, send them out to sea.
He comes back to be a good worker.
What? Yeah. There we go. There we go. Yeah.
So there's something special about the plaster?
The plaster, the
It's
Italian
mixed
plaster.
with,
Well, I started the
marble?
Italian plaster to making the clouds, and this is like the first one where I sort of really built it up. And sort of the imagery is like the carving and the painting are sort of like coming together, if that makes any sense. So I'm actually building up the plaster real thick here and then carving it. The imagery here is like this sort of spiral. It's sort of like the hull of a Viking ship, if that makes any sense. And it's sort of, I've taken it and sort of abstracted it. A lot of people have seen it as Native American, as Aboriginal, but for me, it's meant to be like this, the hull of a Viking ship.
Is there something else in the plaster to make it stronger?
It's just Italian plaster, built up that much. And I just build it up in layers and then carve it in. And that one in particular. And this one in the corner, the plaster is just about as thick as that one. Yeah. But here again, I started it just to make the clouds. Just to make these beautiful clouds. Yes?
Question. Have you built a boat for yourself?
For a boat for myself? Yes, I have. And actually, there's a book. What?
June comes around.
I used to start chain smoking when June came around. And I would start pacing. And, now, actually, you know what? Making the boats has really helped me. It's really helped me. And again, I hope the takeaway is that, you know, if something really horrible happens in your life, you know, turn it around. Try to make something beautiful out of it. I think Vincent is bringing the book over to show the boat. I'll show you my book. It's actually done. I'm just waiting for the day. It's about as big as this one. Human remains are about 10 pounds. And so it's about as big as that. It's out of granite. And it's got my name and the date, 1955, too. And I'm not dead yet. So we haven't filled that out yet. But yeah, it's done. It's done. Actually, it was exhibited, this boat was exhibited at the Cambridge Island Art Museum just this last year. Yeah. And I've got memorial boats. I've done memorial boats for both my mom and my dad, my partner. Yeah. And they're all in this one. So it's here too. Yes?
You get a lot of requests from people.
Yeah, I make, well, first off, my whole family is Scandinavian. And so, you know, taking out the boat and taking it out to sea is very Scandinavian. So I make them for all of my family members. And I make 5 to probably 10 per year. Art school really didn't prepare me to be a mortician. But actually, you know what? If somebody asked me, I'm just like so honored. I'm so honored that they would do that. And generally speaking, someone will call me and they'll say, will you make a boat for my mom? And I'll say, of course I will. And they'll go, well, the memorial's tomorrow. And you know what? I'm 62 years old. I cannot make a boat overnight. I just can't. So now I keep them, I have to keep, it sounds awful, but I have to sort of keep them in stock. And so what I can do is I can carve the names and dates if I have to overnight. But generally speaking, it's usually an emotional period, and I understand that. But they don't think about me making the boat overnight. But I have done it. I have done it. I've been up 24 hours to make something a boat. Don't make me stand here. Yes?
Well, I want you to,
Oh, show the painting.
yeah,
Okay.
just
Yeah, because a lot of people
Oh,
are
okay.
really
Take this.
fascinated with this.
So fascinated with the pennies. Okay.
Yes.
Well, this one is done on pennies. It's all on pennies. And it says on the back here, it says, the 130 pennies in this painting were found in the streets where I live in Seattle, Capitol Hill. It seems I'm the only person that will pick up a penny off the street. Most people will walk by them as if they were nothing. I, however, see them as talisman or good luck charms. I now pass this good luck on to you with love. So I have quite a few of them right now. One of my clients came over and I told her the story, and she bought one, and then about 2 weeks later she came over with a shoebox full of pennies that she had been saving for 20 years and gave them to me. And she said, I've been saving these pennies for something special. And then she bought 2 more of them. And I was like, well, you want to wait until I make a boat out of the pennies that you've done? And she said, no, just the fact that you're making art out of them. It's like something special for me. Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so another question, the pieces on the other side of this are totally different.
Totally different, the colorful ones. Yeah, those are done on recycled marine aluminum. And so they're done with marine aluminum, and then they've got boat resin on them, so they've got the shiny surface on them, and they're very colorful. So it's the same thing, only different. I don't know what else to say to that one. That was a whole series, and it was like a rainbow. So it went from yellow to red. And I love the symbolism of the boats. You know, the significance of the boats, it brings together my background, growing up on a boat. It brings my heritage, and it's really helped me deal with my own personal grief and loss.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, you're beautiful too. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to make them beautiful. How's that? Thank you. Thank you. And this next year, well, I have this show, this beautiful show in this beautiful gallery, and I love Edison. We love Edison. We love this gallery. I have a show in North Carolina, and we have a show coming up in Port Townsend at the Northwind Art Center, and the brand new Vashon Art Center too. So that's coming up this next year. Yes?
Have you shown in Norway?
In Norway? No. I've had pieces go to Norway from collectors that have, purchased my work and taken it to Norway. But getting art into Norway is like extremely difficult. I've had 4 shows at the Nordic Heritage Museum, and we've done several fundraisers in my studio for the Nordic Heritage Museum. And I'm up for, should I even talk about that one?
You just did.
I just did. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm up. The Nordic Heritage Museum is building a brand new museum, and I am I'll just say I'm being considered for the first show at the Nordic Heritage Museum. So that would be, it's going to be very political. Let's hope spit in from Little Ballard can go back there. So that's it. But getting work to Norway is extremely difficult. So sorry, yeah. But I've had work go to, I've had like pieces purchased in there. I have pieces in Dubai, and I have pieces in China, and all over the place. I've done about 30 public pieces, large scale, big and little. I don't know what else to tell you. Any other questions for me? Good? Am I free to go now?